Fantastic Tones for Human Bones.
Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. My name is Robert Woods Ledoux. My co-host is here, Mark Pascucci Clifford.
Mark Pascucci Clifford, hello.
Today, our guest is Rob Ewing, our good friend and trombonist and educator. And
bassist and drummer. You're a multi-instrumentalist. We'll say that. And composer. And
I think you described me on an earlier episode. You name dropped me as your trombone friend, or maybe your number one trombone friend or something like that.
Did I do that or did Mark do that? Or do we both do it?
You have to review the tape on that one.
But yes, it's true.
It's a pleasure to be here with you gentlemen. A big fan of the podcast. It's a great thing that you're doing.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your ongoing support since we've started it. And yeah, I'm super stoked to have you on for this particular edition of the Bandcamp recommendation episode. I think this is going to be fun.
We haven't mentioned that yet. This is
I just did.
Yeah, this is a Bandcamp recommendations episode, maybe the last for the time being, at least of its particular kind, because I mean, I don't know, maybe they'll just continue doing it forever, but it is the last one that they've announced that they are doing. Bandcamp, that is. And it's also the last one of the year. So it's an honor to have Rob, who I think we certainly need to have you on again at another time to discuss your music and your practice. We got to do the
deep dive, man.
Because
I want to hear about Naropa.
You are a musician of a particular breed that needs to be investigated. But
that means we're very suspicious of you.
One of the things that I like about you is that you're always kind of offering recommendations and turning people on to stuff. And so it's really great to have you as a guest on this particular episode.
Yeah.
Cool. If we could go a little meta to begin with before we dive into the actual specific recommendations. It's because you asked me to appear on this show maybe a week or two ago, and since then I've been digging into my personal Bandcamp collection, which is fairly extensive. I mean, just things that I've collected over the years, and I really wanted for the recommendations, I really wanted to limit it to things that were actually in my collection. You could infinitely expand from there, of course, but so just thinking about the whole. What happened for me is, I'm sure you've had this experience as well, but, first saying, okay, what's in there? So you start scrolling through the things that you've acquired over the years. And then it's like, okay, so it's a lot of revisiting things that maybe I haven't heard in a long time. Maybe there's a lot of, it just brings up questions around collecting recordings and how much time we allow ourselves to spend with a given recording and all that kind of thing,
That's really interesting. Bob and I had kind of a similar. We briefly talked about the same thing. What this has done for us personally, doing the Bandcamp episodes, is like we need more time for listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the podcast. I mean, even the interviews that we do, we like so much stuff comes up. Like we end up with. I have such an incredible list of stuff that like I'll never get through at this point, just because we do so much listening for each interview, and then on top of that, we're just like people we'll just drop all these recommendations on us outside of these episodes, and like it's just a lot. And I try to listen to a little bit of all of them. I listen to a lot of stuff all the time anyway, but it's like. We have our listening from the podcast is overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, and doing the Bandcamp episode specifically has changed my listening habits for the better. I've become a better listener to music, where like I'm not just going to what's comfortable for me, and I'm not going necessarily to other podcasts that like I'm really working harder now to expand my
your palette.
Yeah. and it's been eye-opening and challenging at the same time. I gotta say, because there's so much out there, and then you have to consider yourself and everything, and it's really beautiful though. I am looking at your collection, Rob. It looks like you've taken on some of the stuff that we've talked about, which is really cool.
Oh, we've definitely gotten some recommendations from you guys, but it's like that I've really enjoyed. But it's it's this kind of balance for me of like, on the one hand, always so excited about new music, and I am always checking stuff out. But then going through this process, like over the past week or so, of listening to things, I'm like, oh man, I have enough music. Just need to spend more time with it.
I know what you mean. I definitely. I mean, there is definitely things that like that I've purchased that I haven't really given their due listen.
Yeah.
That's true. But so speaking of like lots of recommendations, when thinking about this episode, realized that, okay, we've done so many of these episodes, I'm not sure what I've already recommended. And so I have this handy little website now that we can look at. We can make this public too, but this is just everything that we've recommended so far. So that's
partially why I've been putting the covers on the making those little videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Just to help.
So I actually am coming with a list today, which I normally don't come with. So
I have a brief list, but we can expand from there.
But Rob, since you're the guest of honor, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. Let's see. Let's do one that's kind of close to home. I like to recommend the music made by friends. And this happens to be one that I was listening to recently. And the name of it is Rocketship Sing Standards Volume 3.
Nice.
Michael Rocketship, also known as Michael Coleman.
Woo.
And I don't know what your protocol is here. Should I drop a link in the chat? Is that so you guys can see it, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
there you go.
This is something that's sitting in my wish list. So
okay.
Yeah.
So Michael is somebody that I've known for a long time, and maybe you guys have as well. Not exactly sure. I don't know who all knows who, but he's, as implied by the name of the record, Volume 3, he's done a series of these recordings where it's called Rocketship Sings Standards, and the standards in question are songs from the Great American Songbook. And for me, as somebody who's kind of mainly involved in jazz and things of that nature, when we think of relating to standards, a lot of times it's kind of as a platform for improvisation, but he's not so much approaching it that way. It's much more about the song itself. It's kind of framing the song, and he's singing it in like a very, what I would say is like a pure style. It's really kind of true to the original melody. He sings in this kind of like, he has this particular timbre to his voice that's like most angelic, I would say. And then it's framed with all these different kind of interesting synth sounds, and but it's taking these songs that maybe were written in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and contextualizing them in a way that I would say feels kind of timeless, but also of the moment. And this record has a number of guests on it, musicians. Maybe I'll just mention their names. Josh Crumbly plays some bass. Jake Fiss, alto sax. Kurt Kotheimer, some synth. I won't run the whole list, but some great players, many of whom are also friends, and I highly recommend this record.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's definitely come up on the Bandcamp recommends in the past via, let's see, the Shimsheiler family
yes.
band.
Who recommended that? That was Andy, right?
I believe I did.
Oh, you did, right?
Yeah.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the Andy episode?
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah,
he's
and I have...
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I have some of the other. I don't have this particular Rocketship recording. I don't own it, but I do have some of the other ones. And I'm very interested to check out the standards. I haven't dug into that yet. I've listened more to his own compositions and how he's framed it in that project, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan overall. So that's great.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Shall I go?
Do.
All right. Let's do some grime. UK grime. So on Bandcamp, there is a mixtape called Momentum 2 by the artist Ghetts, who's used to be known as Ghetto. And so this is like, basically a compilation of songs. It's not like a normal album. But I really like grime in general, the UK rap scene.
Yeah.
And, Ghetts has a lot of the sort of like dance hall reggae culture that gets pulled into that music in his style. And I would say that there is no rapper that makes me drop my jaw quite as hard as Ghetts does. Like strictly from a rhythmic perspective, because a lot of his stuff is doubled. And when you listen to it, and it's like he raps pretty aggressively, so it's like very fast phrases. All of the rhythms are like extremely off the beat and kind of floating on top of the beat. And it's like I would dare someone to transcribe the rhythms of it. Maybe that's a project for me actually, but it's really super impressive what he's doing strictly from a rhythmic perspective. And obviously like his flow is incredible. He's got a lot to say, and like if you like grime, like the beats are on this particular I'm not sure like who produced each of these songs necessarily, but like they're all really great. Like he works with really incredible talent, and he's got I forget what his crew is called. He has like a crew of people that he works with called hold on a second. I'll tell you. Never mind, I don't know. But it's they're all just like incredible talents. He often plays with a live band. He's quite popular now, I think. He's increasing in popularity, but definitely check out Ghetts if you've never heard of Ghetts. Or if you like grime or rap in general.
Cool.
Is grime is that kind of reference a production style, or what would you say is the?
That I don't know, honestly. That's a good question. I there's nothing in the production style that would call out to me that like it's grimy or whatever, because it's like honestly a lot of this stuff is super clean, very tight, like high-end production. So I
think it has to do more with the subculture, where it comes from, regionality. Mm-hmm. From what I know, I know way more about American hip hop than I do about grime, but what I've heard from grime is super interesting. I mean, I think Scott Beck showed me something that was originally started as like a mockumentary, but this guy was really successful and he ended up making some really good songs too. I gotta remember his name, but like it's like stuff that I like to listen to on a regular basis. But this is I don't know, because Bob, you sent me some other stuff to listen to recently that was grime that was really interesting. I don't remember if it was this guy.
I really like grime in general.
Do you listen to much American hip hop?
Not as, I mean, in terms of my hip hop diet, it's heavy grime and light American hip hop. but
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about some American hip hop on a prior episode. Who's that? Out of LA. Really interesting. I listened to that one too. I spent some time with it. That was an intense record.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I wanted Mickey Blanco? Mikey?
Oh, Mickey Blanco, right. Well, that's a whole nut. Like that's not quite your average American hip hop.
No.
That's a pretty particular record for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll dig. So this one's also interesting because I see no options for purchase or for adding to a wish list. Is this just like you stream this? Is that the deal?
This might... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, obviously I purchased this at a time. Perhaps he has been signed or something and they took it off of availability, which is... I guess that bums my recommendation out. You can download, I guess, the first mixtape for free, so that's a good deal. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't actually know. I would assume that there's some. The disclaimer says no copyright infringement intended.
Oh, so maybe the samples were not cleared.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. I definitely bought it on Bandcamp once upon a time.
Okay, cool.
But thank you for pointing that out, I guess.
Well, it's just interesting. I mean, it's like that. My usual go-to is to add everything that is mentioned to a wish list.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's change.
Go ahead.
Let's change the vibe. So this is tangentially similar to having close to home, and I feel like we're gonna hone in closer and closer. I want to start here because I've loved this record for years, and then hone into something that's more recent and more in the backyard. But this is R.J. Miller. It's a record called Ronald's Rhythm.
Oh yeah, I know this record.
And the first thing that you notice is that it's just lovely, clean design. I really like this record cover. You know what I mean? I don't know. They just kind of nailed it. But aesthetically, everything just Doug Stewart was the one who showed me this record. It was probably about 5 years ago. And it was one of those ones, much like E Otis 2, that like, or Y Otis 2. Sorry, I don't know how to say that yet. But everything lined up perfectly at the time. You know, it's R.J. Miller on drums, and he just plays. Again, this is sort of akin to the Jeff Parker trio that I had recommended last month, I believe. He plays grooves that repeat. There's not a whole lot of deviation, and then there's simple melodies and chord progressions. But I think what I really like about it is the way, like the choices that they made with the synthesizers and with the production. It just feels really warm, and it's a lovely record to just exist in, you know?
Yeah, I find this to be, it's almost like a little disconcerting. Like I think the first time I listened to this, I was like waiting for like something to come in or something. And then when I realized like halfway through the record, I was like, okay, I'm thinking about this the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, I immediately related to it because I feel like, I just like saw, you know, this idea of like, okay, here's a musical idea. I feel like they had some instruments and they were in a studio and they just like saw some musical ideas through and they recorded it well and put it out. You know, maybe some of these could have been developed further, but I'm really glad that he released these as they are, because I personally have done a lot of the same things where I just like document a chord progression or something like that, and it kind of feels nice to sit in that, you know?
yeah.
They just did a really nice job of it. So this is a beautiful, mellow listening record, like high musicianship though. RJ Miller is an incredible drummer. And yeah, mastered by Nate Wood, who I also recommended another time. Yeah. I deeply love this record. It's a good cruising record, you know. I just like having it on.
Good cruising record.
Yeah, I don't know this record, but I look forward to checking it out, and I have a feeling I might know which other one you're going to recommend later. But
I'll let you. Well, I thought you were about to call that one out immediately, but that's all good.
Yeah. Well, I'll go in a little different direction. I like that this is a drummer's record, because I actually had a number of drummers records that I was interested in talking about. It just so happens, but one of them, again, just making connections. This one is Mark Clifford appears on this album. It turns out.
Nice.
Let me just find it real quick. Here it is.
I know Mark Clifford.
Yeah, co-host of this very podcast, Mark Clifford. This is a Sam Ospovat record.
Oh yeah, this one's cool.
And this is this goes back. This was released back in 2012, and Sam Ospovat is a great drummer who formerly of the Bay Area for a number of years, but has been on the East Coast for a number of years more recently. And you know, this record for me, it's pretty eclectic. It kind of goes in a lot of different places, but I think it captures a particular vibe of the Bay Area creative music scene around that time, like around 2010, 2013, that kind of era. And I think a lot of the musicians on this record, you know, kind of exemplify that for me. But so there's just to, you know, as sometimes with the way Bandcamp works, you don't always get all the information you might want, but there is a minimal amount of information. And I'll read off some of the players because I think it does kind of speak to that period. We do again hear from Michael Coleman. So hi, Michael, if you're listening. The great Jim Ryan is on this, electric kalimba. Yep. Jacob Zimmerman, Lauren Benedict, Philip Greenleaf, Carl Evangelista, Jordan Glenn, former podcast guest, Aram Shelton, and Mr. Clifford. Also Lisa Mezzacappa and Sam Ospovat. So it's like this music, as I said, is pretty eclectic. It reminds me of some music that we worked on around that time when all of us were involved in a group called Oakland Active Orchestra. Yeah. We would play some of Sam's music in that group. So like a large ensemble, kind of experimental big band, if you will. And so some of it, like one piece, there's a amplified egg timer.
Yeah.
If you remember this.
Yeah.
And so
definitely.
and that has sort of of course it has a certain sound to it, kind of white noise type of sound, but then it's also has a timekeeping function of like, there's going to be this event that happens for this number of seconds, and then there's going to be some other event that happens for a period of time. So it's just kind of like a way of organizing a piece of music where it's not necessarily like we're playing at 60 beats per minute and you play a 4-bar phrase, but it's like, here's an event that happens for 25 seconds and then, you know, shifting to another event. So it's an interesting way to structure music.
I like that.
And it's just like some really compelling compositions on this for sure.
PIKI.
Yeah.
Is that the name? So it's the name of the
record, right?
Yeah.
Did I say that? PIKI, or I don't know. PIKI.
I think it's PIKI.
PIKI.
Yeah.
And it's there's also some like solo drum stuff on there that's very like kind of polyrhythmic oriented. So a lot of different stuff on here. Highly recommended.
Yeah. I mean, at that time too, I remember going over to where Sam was, and he would be working out of the Macadini polyrhythm books. Mm-hmm. He and Kim Cass together would basically write etudes about what was going on in those books. And yeah, last time I heard Sam do a solo set, that language was still in there very much. And this was at least what I recorded on this was in the Littlefield Hall in Mills.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really fun afternoon. It was cool.
Right on.
Yeah, I haven't listened to this one in a few years, I don't think. I'm excited to revisit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, never heard this, so.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has some more recent releases as well. This is vintage Sam.
Yeah,
A lot of great stuff.
definitely.
Does he have another Bandcamp? Because this is the only thing on this particular Bandcamp page.
I think he does. I think it might be associated
Tricky.
with a record label.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Okay.
All right. I have something here. This is from It Pours What Some Called Emptiness by Antipsychocircumseptemsomambulation, I guess. So this is a really mysterious record. If you're looking for mystery, this I think is entirely sequenced, so I don't think that there's any live instruments on this. I don't really know who made it. This seems to be the only release on this particular Bandcamp. It says it's from Ottawa, Ontario.
Can't trust that.
The bio says nothingness and emptiness. There's lyrics on the Bandcamp page for every song, and I don't think that any of the lyrics ever get sung or said in any of the songs, although there is speaking parts. So there's recorded vocal audio, at least, of like some voices. So the spoken text is not the lyrics. And so I think like track 2, for example, How Wings Are Attached to the Backs of Angels is like, has a kind of like poem that's read, but it also has lyrics that are not read. So it's like an interesting thing that's happening here. So it says in the notes here that that's a pseudo. Where does it say this? It's like a pseudo language or something. Pseudo lyrics translated to English from Alcarith's silent forbidden language. That's what it says about the lyrics. So
do you think that's a real thing, or that's just part of the lore that has become inherent within this project?
I don't know. Probably just this project, but I don't know what this is, to be honest with you. This is rather mysterious.
What does it sound like?
Okay, so like I said, it's mostly sequenced, so it's like MIDI instruments, and so another aspect of this is that it's definitely microtonal. I read a review about this that says that it's 24 EDO, so like 24 tone equal temperament, so it's 24 notes to an octave, I think. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's right or not, and I can't find any evidence to back that up, but it's definitely microtonal. And it's like kind of metal-ish, but like, there's no actual like guitars, or it's definitely all just like synthesizers or like sequenced instruments. So it's really bizarre. The sounds of everything are kind of like reminiscent of Doom, for example. Like it has like this like guitar synth that's like kind of like the.
You mean the video game? Like
yeah.
Oh,
that's
okay.
kind of like the sonic vibe of the instruments that are being used. But it's much more. The music's much weirder than whatever was in Doom. So it's. But it is still kind of like metal, I would say, at its core. Like the genre that it's working in is metal, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely worth checking it out.
I'm gonna read this. Can this even be called music? Put a comment on there. Can I read that real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good. I think it's good. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
The compositions are set in 24 notes per octave, and all instruments are synthesized. I definitely would favor an organic lineup, but this would prove almost inhumanly possible for this project, and would also probably break the rules of the cyber grind genre. Cyber grind. I haven't heard that. That one's new for me.
Yeah.
So, cyber grind. Okay. So we're thinking about maybe grindcore, perhaps, and
I read another review that likened this to Jujite.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the if you likes are like Jujite related for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So that's more the ballpark, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's definitely its own thing. Like, I've never heard anything quite like this. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to listen, as always. Man, I am still just... There are some of the records that what's that dude? Blataria?
Oh, yeah. Or Blatteria, whatever. Like, yeah.
I'm still just very much enjoying that record. There are some of these that like I keep going back to. There's a lot that we've listened or that we've talked about that I haven't been able to dig all the way into yet, but especially you just bring up like pretty bonkers metal on the regular, you know.
Yeah, that's my hang.
That one's been like a really nice hang for sure.
My hang is obscure metal for sure.
Yeah, but bonkers. All right. Hang on. Stand by. I have one that I would like to talk about. One of the we've talked about this before, but it's worth reiterating. One of the best things, in my opinion, about Bandcamp is that you can follow other collectors, and you can dig into other people's collections and you can follow them. So recently, Jim O'Rourke put out Steam Room 56, which I really very, very much enjoyed. It was a piece, you know, in 4 movements, electronic music. It's incredible. I love Jim O'Rourke, but so I was looking at that, and then I ended up following a gentleman, and he had some really fascinating records on his page, and one of them that I checked out is Joshua Abrams and Natural Information Society. So Joshua Abrams, Chicago-based musician, composer, and let me try to find the record specifically that I've been listening to, because I just threw a bunch on there. Okay, yeah, so Simultonality is the one that I've been listening to more. So this has Abrams on Girimbree, bass, small harp and bells, Lisa Alvarado, Michael Avery, Ben Boyle, Ari Brown, Emmett Kelly, and the great drummer Frank Rosalie, who I met through ARUAN. But this record, so
love this album cover.
Yeah, and I mean all the things that come out of this series are similar as well. And this, you know, sometimes you hear music and you're like, this is something that I've been wanting to try to make for years. You know, like you listen to the first track on this, Maroon Dune, and it's like, I want to see what the people were, what the musicians were looking at. You know, it's like really beautiful, really mellow, grooving music, but there's really specific changes happening too. It's like a minimalist landscape, and then dissonant, really well orchestrated harmonies coming in over, you know, like I think they're working in a different tonality than the groove overall. You know, they're going in and out of different keys. But the rhythm section seems to be flipping in and out of like a lot of different odd time signatures together. And I don't know if they're reading really, really specific, like repeat 8 times, repeat 5 times, go to 7/4, repeat 3 times, and this and that. Or if they had like a cue system and they had like 3 or 4 cells that they were looking at, and maybe Josh was just like, A, B, you know, like something that would simplify it but still get the same result. So I've been listening to this while I'm riding around on my bike going to school to teach and all that, and it's a fun record to try to imagine how I would recreate this same thing and get a successful result. it's really, really cool, you know. And so I've checked out the other records that are a part of this series as well. Dissension, Mandatory Reality, and all of it is fantastic. So highly recommended. Simultonality, Joshua Abrams, and the National Information Society.
Cool.
So yeah, definitely. And I immediately hit up Doug because, you know, Josh Abrams, Chicago bassist, and he's like, yes, I love that. Doug Stewart, of course.
Right.
I often check in with him about my new discoveries, just to make sure. Look at this. Look at this. So if we
get approval.
If we didn't, you know, so even from this comment, if I had no idea who any of these people were, it says right here, sounds like Steve Reich composing tropical krautrock with Don Cherry. I mean, good Lord. Like
Yeah.
someone's trying to swoon me just with words, you know? But anyway, yeah. So highly recommended. Love this record.
Nice. Shall I?
Yep.
Please do.
All right. So this next one, I'm curious if you know these guys. I think there's a good chance that you might. But the next band is Black Spirituals.
Oh yeah, definitely. Friends. Friends.
I do not.
Yeah. So this particular record of theirs is called Black Treatment, and the band it's a duo. Marshall Trammell on drums.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Zachary James Watkins on what says electronics, but he also plays guitar in the group. And so I mean, if you guys are familiar with them, I'd love to get some insights. But I mean, just because I don't know them personally, but I've been listening a bunch, and it was kind of like inspired by, I'd recently been digging back into mid-'60s Coltrane kind of stuff after this new live Love Supreme came out, and other music, like kind of free jazz era stuff, like Albert Ayler Trio, Sonny Murray on drums, things like this.
Yeah.
And then bringing me to Black Spirituals, which I listened to before, but it was just kind of had those ears on, those kind of like classic free jazz ears on when I was listening to it. And I think like it sounds to me like Marshall, the drummer, comes out of that school, at least in this context of like the Sonny Murray, Rashid Ali, etc., kind of classic free jazz drumming approach, textural kind of thing. And but to hear him play like that, and then the way Zachary interacts with that, it's not like the way, a free jazz saxophone player might do it. It's bringing something else to it, where it's not like a shredding approach so much as it is more of like layers of sound and, longer notes and distorted tones and not quite drones, but just like sweeping sounds, interacting with these kind of like free jazz drums. But I think Zachary is maybe also manipulating the sound of the drums through his processing, through his electronic processing rig. I don't really know the ins and outs of all that.
Is there post-processing on this, do you think?
I don't know, but I've seen some of their live stuff, and it's similar. So I think a lot of it's like real time processing that Zachary's doing.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I've seen them live, I don't know that I've seen Zachary processing the drums live, but that could definitely be something for the record. That's interesting. But I've played with Marshall a fair amount, and I feel like I know him. Have you seen his bass drum?
The most recently I heard him on one of those live streams that Carl put together. One of those live streaming festivals.
That was like the last time I heard him too.
Mm-hmm. And so the way it was framed was just like kind of a silhouette of the drums.
Yeah.
If you remember that? Kind of a backlit silhouette or something.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about coming from the free jazz energy, but Marshall's approach is really singular at the same time. Like he has the energy and everything, but you know, he has a pretty minimal drum setup. I believe it's a large bass drum, cowbell, snare, hi-hat, and cymbal, maybe. You know, but he does so much.
Yeah.
So much with that. And I think he's a complete master of that energy and of the instrument.
Great musician.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zachary, yeah, not shredding, but is like really textural, and he's able to add like really deep just events to the mix too, you know. Like when I've I think I've seen them live maybe 3 or 4 times, and there'll be times because they're just building, there's a lot of texture, there's a lot of energy happening, and then sometimes I think he's really a master of the pedals that he's using and his guitar, and he's able to just make these events happen out of thin air as well. And they're both like super sweet guys also, which is rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
When was this one made?
Well, it came out in 2020, but it was recorded in 2015.
Oh, wow. Okay.
At Santo Studio? I've never heard of that.
Santo. Do you know where that is, Rob?
No, but you know, it might be somebody's house or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's do this. This is Red River by Sonya Cotton, who used to be a Bay Area local, although looks like maybe she's in Utah now. I got turned on to Sonya Cotton by Andrew McGuire. He basically invited me to come see her play live. So that I saw her first before getting into this album. And this album is, although there's a lot of overdubs, is a great capture of at least what she was doing at the time with these particular groups of musicians. And it's a folk. So this is folk songs. This is folk music. She's got, a very beautiful voice, and like the arrangements are very well done, very elaborate, and really emotionally packed, very morose, even though, I'm not sure that I understand the lyrics to her music, to be honest with you. They seem...
What do you mean by that?
Well, they seem to be metaphorical in a way, but I'm not sure what the metaphor is for.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, it's
and how do you feel about that? I'm just curious, because I often write things like we've talked about it a little bit. Is I think we got into it with our conversation with Saki, where I'm trying my best to obscure anything at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
lyric writing it's a whole craft in itself. Like writing music is one thing, and lyric writing is a whole nother craft, I feel like. And so to do that well and to have your own voice is really special. I think her lyrics are quite good. They're particularly vague in a way that like I can't quite grasp onto. So like something like for me, someone said this to me once. It's like, if you're thinking about lyrics from like a pop song perspective, they have to be kind of like about you, so it seems like they're honest enough, but they have to be vague enough so that everyone can relate to it. Because if it's too specific, then no one else can kind of relate to it. And I think that point is what differentiates lyrics from just plain old poetry, because
pop lyrics specifically, though, right?
Well, no, but I think you can abstract that to all lyrics, although you have to really do some layers of abstraction to get there, I would say. But like they need to be the right amount of vague, I would say. Which is the trick, because they also have to seem like I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of lyrics, right? There's very abstract lyrics that are very interesting. You can have lyrics that like in music like this, in folk music, honestly, a lot of the lyrics, you're looking for a sort of honesty perhaps to come through, or like a storytelling perhaps that.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, these, I mean, her lyrics are beautiful. They're a little bit, they kind of elude me a little bit, honestly.
Okay.
But I'm recommending this record because I think it's wonderful. I listen to it all the time. So.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's definitely a lot of hometown heroes on here. Jamie Riotto, Ezra Lipp is on this one. Recorded by Scott McDowell. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all these people, but
recorded in Hyde Street Studio C in SF. That's awesome.
Great record.
Man. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I got to listen to this. I don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it says arranged by the band, so that implies that there was like a working band that was,
Yeah, no, I guess what I was trying to say up front is that this captures a moment in time for her output that was very particular to this band.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this album I would recommend highly. Her other stuff is great too. I really like her first album, honestly. Also.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think that this was like a studio musician kind of project where, because I mean, yeah, these are some of the usual suspects.
Well, no, I saw them play live, and it was more or less like this was what happened on this record. Like all the elaborate, there's a lot of vocal harmonies and stuff. They were doing all this stuff live, although it's clearly Sonya Cotton overdubbing a lot herself on the record. The arrangements were maybe the record came first and then they reproduced it live. I'm not sure about that, but
okay. I wonder when she went to Utah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen her play a number of times. She's very talented, very like serious singer-songwriter.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's do a new release highlight. I believe that, Rob, you know what I'm talking about, but this is Melodies in Silence by Raffi Garabedian.
Yes.
And this came out a few days ago. Released November 12th, 2021. And Raffi's a local tenor sax player and composer. And I really like this project because it was his take on the pandemic, the remote project. I've listened through to it just a couple times, so I'm still steeping.
Yeah, I think I listened to this today actually for the first time.
Well, yeah, it's been out 3 days.
Yeah.
So his description of it is Melodies in Silence is a pandemic project. In a time of overwhelming unknown, Raffi started recording solo improvisations wherever he felt safe, outside among redwood trees in the Oakland Hills or under fluorescent lights in his music studio in West Berkeley. The end result is a manifestation of dreams and melodies from a place where everything felt distant and nothing felt possible. It is a meditation on the surrealism of time, day and night. It is a reflection on grief, loneliness, fear, anger, and hope. And this is interesting. There was one morning when Crystal and I were taking a hike pretty early on in the pandemic, and we went up to the redwoods. We went up to the big trees grove where we got married. and we ran into Raffi, who was like packing up his horn and getting back in his car. And I feel like this was sort of the beginning of that process where he was like just going out and shedding in the woods and doing his thing. And so from my listens to this does strike me to have similar feelings to the RJ Miller record that I was talking about earlier. He's on
this record. He plays drums on this record.
Yeah. So RJ Miller. Okay, so let me say again also, because I talked about Ari last time. Ari Chersky, is that?
Chersky.
Rob,
Yep.
Chersky, thank you. Ari Chersky, Doug Stewart play bass, and RJ. So, Ari's in Brooklyn, Doug's in LA, RJ is in Maine. And I think it's really good playing across the board, and I like the arrangements and the synth and the textural elements that Ari has added as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give this one a shout out because it's a new release from a friend, and I think it's great and it's worth, also former guest Doug is on it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And I think it's a really cool project, and it's with people, all four of these people, I am a huge fan of the work that they do and their output. Raffi, Ari, Doug, and RJ Miller, who I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to keep digging into this one deeper, but shout out to Raffi for sure.
Yeah, I think that's cool that we've all three listened to it. That might be the first one of the day that we've all three have heard prior to talking. But I think you had recommended on the last episode Danny Lubinladen's record and Mark, definitely. And that was like I was actually talking a little bit with Danny yesterday about Raffi's record, and just thinking like it's those two records are kind of it's like a nice set. They're a nice little companion set there.
I'd agree.
I mean, they're both, for those who don't know, they're close collaborators, the two of them, Danny and Raffi, for many years, and Ari as well. And so Ari basically produced both of those records. Yeah, Ari Chersky, and so it definitely has Ari's signature on both of those, sonic signature. But I like that. One of the things about Raffi's record that kind of jumped out to me, it's like each piece is like none of the pieces are particularly long. They're kind of compact pieces, I would say, and it's like a strong statement, and that's one strong statement for the piece. It's not like here's a melody and like let's take a long solo over it or something like that. It's like, even though he's coming from that saxophone tradition of playing solos and such, but it's not, and he does improvise for sure, but it's like it's just kind of like compact in that way, and I enjoyed that approach.
Yeah, right, absolutely. I think the longest composition is under 5 minutes on this one, or the longest track, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, 4:48. Wow. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. Shout out to Twin Peaks on there, One Eye Jacks. There you have it. Alrighty.
What you got, Rob?
Is it my turn? Okay, Let's see here. So this record this may be one of my all-time favorite albums here. So just to build it up a little bit.
Oh boy.
And I would also be curious. I think it's the type of record that you guys might already be familiar with, but we'll find out. This is a Steve Lehman record.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And he has a bunch of records, but this one's Sélébéyone. You guys know this record?
Actually, I don't know this record, but I love Steve Lehman.
Yeah. So Steve Lehman's saxophone player, composer. Oh,
dude. Okay. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to talk about this. I believe that Britt has yelled at me about this a lot. Okay, go ahead.
This, like I said, one of my all-time favorite records, but it's like there's the probably the thing that jumps out right away is there are these two rappers on the record, and one is American and one is Senegalese, and the Senegalese rapper raps in their language in Wolof, and the American rapper raps in English.
Damian Reed is on this?
Yeah. That dude is sick. Yeah.
So Damian has definitely worked with Steve Lehman in a lot of different situations, but this one, it is. I read somewhere that it was mixed or produced by an actual like hip hop record producer. So it sounds like a hip hop record in terms of the drum sounds and all that kind of stuff. But then it has Steve Lehman's kind of compositional approach, which is all over the place. So there's a lot of these kind of little melodic motifs, bubbling through the whole thing, and really unpredictable harmonies, and kind of off kilter metric stuff. But then with just super powerful. I mean, all of that aside, if you're just like a fan of hip hop, and I think these rappers, who I don't know them from any other context except from this record, but they're just like. It's Gaston Bandemic is the Senegalese MC, and then H Prism is the other one. Just like really, really powerful stuff. So
this seems really interesting.
Yeah, this record. Also, I love PI, the record label. They consistently deliver, but This one I'm excited to check out, because I remember when this came out, I was talking to Britt Kayampa on the phone, and he talked at length about this record. But that dude can really chop it up, So I haven't listened to it yet. I should, and I'm excited to now. But I didn't realize that Damian Reed and Drew Gress were on this as well.
Is this
Dang.
Is this record like, does this have a Steve Lehman vibe to it, or is it like a little bit of a side project of his?
It's very much a Steve Lehman vibe, but
good.
He has a lot of different vibes. So I mean, in terms of different instrumentations and things that he's worked with, but
but his filter is always on.
It's all his compositions. It's very much his thing.
Okay.
But both So Steve Lehman and how do you say that? Massy Glacier? So both of them are credited for. So Steve has alto saxophone and sequencing, and then Massy Glacier, or forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, soprano saxophone and sequencing. So I'm just curious about that too. You said it sounds more like a hip hop production.
Yes,
and I'm wondering. Of course, I'm always wondering. Like. What were they working in? How did they?
So I'm reading the notes here, saying like the record's distinctive sound is also a result of the sonic expertise of noted hip hop engineer Andrew Wright, childhood friend of Lehman's, who worked on Good Kid, Mad City, and
God,
for example. But
wow,
yeah.
Okay, dang, okay,
crazy. This is such a crazy combination of things.
Yeah, this is sick, dude. Man.
Awesome.
Especially the opening track, which is called Lamb, L-A-A-M-B. It's just like, woo. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. People of marketplace. Pull off the word Sélébéyone. Okay, I'm going to read the last paragraph from the notes here. And we'll off the word Sélébéyone refers to an intersection, a liminal terrain where two fixed entities meet and transform themselves into something heretofore unknown. New intersections and the investigation of boundaries have always been central to Lehman's music. As he explains, hip-hop is like every other musical genre. There are fierce individualists, people that are more marketplace-oriented, and every shade in between. I've always gravitated towards artists like Company Flow. Yeah, that's beautiful music. MF Doom, Pheromage, Freestyle Fellowship, and Antipop, artists who are really trying to innovate on every level. This record is very much trying to follow that mold. I think regardless of the musical milieu jazz, classical, rap. The way we work with rhythm, harmony, timbre, and compositional form is as elaborate and personal as anything I've done. Sélébéyone builds off of Lehman's groundbreaking work with spectral harmony and novel rhythmic structures to create an electrifying new model for improvised music while signaling the beginning of a thrilling new chapter in his recorded output. Yeah.
Dang.
So immediately right there, CoFlow and MF Doom are like two huge, massive influences on me. That's really cool to see an artist like Steve Lehman call them out as well. You know, because yeah, you know, there's something. Drum set as MPC. Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna nerd out on these notes later. Sorry, I would read all of this. Okay. Anyway, let's move on, man. I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, very cool. I can't wait to some good recs on this episode here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, I've got something else strange for you guys.
Go ahead.
This is SOS Forks AI REM by MrDougDoug. This is on the record label Hausu Mountain Records.
Have you seen Hausu, Bob, real quick? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah,
okay.
Totally. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But
yeah.
Are you guys familiar with this record label by chance?
No.
Okay. I think probably the most famous artist on here is probably Fire Tools. But nearly everything on this label is a little wild and like pretty weird. Like it's mostly electronic music, although there's some exceptions to that. This particular artist, I think, is the owner of the record label. Not sure about that, but I think. I don't really know terribly much about this. It says the notes are all tracks are manipulated MIDI files found on the Internet Archive's GeoCities MIDI collection and freemidi.org. So this is not necessarily compositions, but maybe manipulations of MIDI that has been collected on the internet.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like fascinating.
A lot of this stuff is super fast. I'm gonna guess that the numbers at the end of each song title are tempos, because that kind of approximates the vibe of them. At least they're all really fast stuff going by, and like lots of effects and strange sounds happening. And
one of those says 932, man.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm guessing. A lot of these songs are pretty short. They flow right into one another. Like if you're listening to this album all the way through, you won't know when one song is stopped and the next one starts. It's just like kind of a flow that just keeps going. 31 tracks, but a lot of short songs. So it's pretty listenable. I think this is actually a good place to start for this record label as a whole, because a lot of the music on this label is like kind of like this, and it's like it's interesting listening to music like this, because like it's got its own sensibilities, but like I don't know where to put them necessarily. Like it's hard to slap genre labels on this and stuff like that, because it's living in its own world, and it's I mean, maybe a genre labels will come later, but a lot of the stuff on this record label is kind of like that, where it's like I'm not really sure what exactly to call this music, you know. So it's cool, and maybe a lot of people have heard Fire Tools, which is a bit more of a metal thing. Fire Tools has been featured on Bandcamp a number of times, like on the Bandcamp Daily. But check out this record. and check out this label in general also.
Yeah, I mean, that all looks bonkers, man.
Yeah.
There's a band on this label called Mothcock. Check that out. Dude, I wonder, seems like they have one person running the art for the label because all of these look crazy.
Yeah. They also have a great newsletter.
How do you access that? I just started following the label on Bandcamp, but how do you do that?
Maybe howsumountain.com. I'm not sure.
Okay. I found a description of this record on their website that I like. I'll just read a line of it. It said, MrDougDoug's tracks take on their own characters, flecked with laugh-out-loud juxtapositions and passages of dizzying complexity. The A-side of SOS Forks AI REM reaches us as a seamless mix of numerous short tracks of varying audio qualities, pinballing between consonant dance workouts and heavy bursts of hyperactive noise. So I'm on board. Sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah. You know what this reminds me of is the we talked about this, right? The Ingiza Hua by Duke, like that super hyper fast tempo.
In that regard, like the very fast tempo sequence stuff it's similar to that vibe, at least. Yeah. It's got that in common, but it's very different music, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, so on our last interview, and I imagine this episode is going to come out before that, but so Bob, did you listen to Yellow House? I don't necessarily want to like spend time talking about this, but I'm just curious.
Yellow House?
By Grizzly Bear, because we talked about this when we were talking with our prior interview guest.
Oh, no, I have not.
Okay. Well, I think, I think that record has had a whole lot of exposure, but I just will say that it was extremely important to me at the time that it came out. However, why don't I talk about this dude, John Chalant, Seattle-based songwriter, really interesting guy. I got to know this project. I don't know if Jean Chalant, it must be a moniker. Yeah. But yeah, so when I was in Seattle,
or give us a link?
Here, let me send the link. It's JEAN and then Chalant S. But I believe I've sent this to you, Bob, and I don't think this record is for everybody, but when I was in Seattle, I went and saw this guy with Aaron Otime, brought us all to see, I think, one of his final official shows, and I like had a great time, and I came home with one of his records that I really liked. And in a prior conversation with Aaron Otime, where I was, we were just like comparing notes on kind of interesting and odd music and people who have semi-prolific outputs. He sent this one to me, and I think it's an interesting project. He like, these are all very short songs. He's just exploring one topic. He sees it all the way through. It's like really sardonic throughout, but he is obviously a studied fan of harmony. There are interesting things going on musically throughout. So I'm still attracted to it just through listening.
Love the album art.
I love the album art too. And it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm just like, I would like to make that. It looks like a Photoshop thing where he pulled something out of like Minecraft and then put a bunch of trailer parks on it as well.
Trailer parks.
Oh, and by the trailer parks.
You mean parked trailers.
Parked trailers, thank you. And the name of the particular album I'm talking about right now is called Greek Myth Fundamentalist. Yeah, the name of the first song, which is 30 seconds long, is 10,000 page book of scales. So obviously, I mean, this dude like has like
a sense of humor.
But it seems also like he's gone through music school. He took it seriously, and now he has. Wait
a minute. This says produced by Crazy L.
Yeah, you know who that is, right?
I do know who that is. Do you know who that is?
I think it's Mr. Luke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, he's friends with all the heat warmer cats and all that.
Okay.
Gotcha. So like I said, Aaron Otime.
I don't know who Aaron Otime is, I guess.
He's a heat warmer. He's a keyboardist.
Oh, okay. That ties it all together. Ties the room together there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I got to know him, his music. Do you guys know about Rocket Snail?
Rocket Snail.
Yeah, definitely.
Rocket Snail. It's like a Zoom hang that was going on a weekly basis during the pandemic, and still I think occasionally, but hosted by, once again, Michael Rocketship and Sneal, and Jean Chalant was a frequent performer on that. So I got to know his music through that. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I think when Aaron was in town briefly, he was telling me about that hang, how beautiful it is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I really like his writing, musically. I mean, his lyrics can be like sort of silly, and I think they're just vehicles to get these songs out and through. And then he's also just being like, kind of like poking fun at music in general at the same time, but it tickles something in me, and I appreciate it. So there is that. Greek Myth Fundamentalist by Jean Chalant.
Nice.
Am I up again?
Yep.
Already.
All right.
Let's see here. I think we should do a trombone record.
Let's do it.
I think we have to have at least one trombone record in there.
I think that's important.
There are several that I could mention, but let me mention this one, which is something that a younger trombone player named Kalia Vandever, who I heard around the time when this record came out, which is 2019, and this record is called In Bloom. So I think she is pretty young, like kind of maybe a couple of years out of Juilliard kind of a thing. Really beautiful player. And it's an acoustic, basically an acoustic jazz record, but with trombone and rhythm section. She also sings on a track. But it's very, like, her approach as a horn player, beautiful tone. And I would say, like, it's more like her, at least on this record, her approach is more kind of, I would say, inspired by vocalists, maybe like singer-songwriter kind of approach but applied to the trombone, So sometimes, like, I hear her melodies. These are all her compositions as well. And I hear it, like, the references come to mind for me, which may or may not be something that she was drawing on, but it reminds me of like Bjork and stuff like that, like that kind of melodic sensibility, but
interesting
applied to the trombone. But just like a real pure kind of concept, not a ton of embellishment to the approach. Just these beautiful, song-like melodies. So it's a jazz record for sure, solos and all that. But yeah, really captivating record that came out a couple years ago.
Cool. Yeah, I love a good trombone. I've been meaning to ask you, Rob, are you a fan of Bruce Fowler?
Generally speaking, not somebody I'm super familiar with, though.
Right on.
Yeah.
Wait, who is that?
I know of him from Zappa's group.
Right. That's mainly what I know as well.
But I've always been very impressed by the tromboning going on with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, what records is he involved in?
Roxy and Elsewhere, I guess, is the main one that I know.
Okay.
But, with Zappa, it's always like, I find that bits of people throughout the rest of his discography, basically, like how it goes. All right. How How about a little bit of black metal?
I think we probably should.
Yeah.
Probably should.
Seems appropriate.
Okay. So this band is one of my favorite bands, honestly. Dodecahedron. I think the specific album, I think I sent you guys a link to the album Dodecahedron, but the album Kwintessens is actually the one I think I would recommend. This I think this band may have broken up. So this might be all you get with them. And calling it black metal is a real loose genre to throw at it. It's some people refer to this as blackened death, to say that it's like a bit of black metal, but like more death metal kind of vibe. But so the music is
wait, what? Blackened death?
Yeah, that's like a term that people use sometimes. So basically calling it a blend between the subgenre of death metal and the subgenre of black metal.
Got it. Okay.
So the drumming on the drummer in this band, incredible drumming, honestly. It just like super tight, very interesting beats, and like the guitars are always very dissonant riffs, but they like have I don't know, it's just like really interesting stuff, like really interesting harmonies. A lot of black metal kind of gets stuck in doing like the same type of harmonic stuff all the time, but these guys are doing really interesting stuff. And I don't really know very much about this band, but I did get this one on vinyl. That's how much I liked it. So I think it's one of the few metal albums I have on vinyl, but it's there's really not another band that's quite like this. The closest other band I would, if I were to compare it to anything else, would be Death Spell Omega is probably a more popular band than this, but it's hard to like compare them to another band. But they're super interesting. Check it out.
Crazy. One of their tags are interesting. Where is Tilburg? Do you know?
Tilburg?
Yeah. Dutch. The Dutch band are okay. And one of their tags is Gorguts. They just straight up tagged another band name for their tag. That's awesome. Yeah. Man, I like the aesthetic as well. This cover is beautiful for the link that you sent. Self-titled.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great, really, like, and I mean this when I say it, they're one of my favorite bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tilburg, Netherlands. Interesting. Well, I'm excited to listen. Man, there's some fun homework coming up.
Yeah.
Coming out of this one. This is awesome. I'm very, very pumped here. Well, shall we got another round? Or wait, no, we need to finish. We must at least finish a round before we do another one. So, Rob, I want to kind of go on. You said, we should have a trombone record, and I was like, hey, you know what? We should have a vibraphone record.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I've been interested in recently is vibraphone trios, and that got started because of Jason Adashevitz's Sunroom trios. That's really cool music, but like I was working with Matt Moran. Matt Moran recommended that I check out Walt Dickerson, and Walt Dickerson has some really cool steeplechase recordings that are vibraphone trios. But there's also, and this is related to something that we talked about last time, there's a fantastic duo record between Sun Ra and Walt Dickerson called Visions. And, you know, taking on Walt Dickerson as someone who I've been listening to regularly is interesting because I feel like in terms of improvisation, I am either more four-mallet textual or I'm doing my earnest best to play linearly using the language in the tradition of jazz and blues, you know, and that's an ongoing thing and it will be for the rest of my life. But, you know, I've also tried to come at it through the lens of minimalism and all these other different places, but Walt Dickerson sounds like zero other vibraphonists in his improvisation. I think he's a two-mallet improviser, uses relatively hard mallets. They might just be rubber. I don't even know if they were covered with thread or yarn. And he will just play sustained rolled notes and kind of go up and down, but like creating really long melodies that in and of themselves become textural. You know, he's not like a quick sort of bop style player, but he'll be able to, he pulls all these amazing sounds out of the instrument that way. And listening to him and Sun Ra together is really fun. You know, it's not like Sun Ra that we're maybe used to hearing, but
what is the album that you're recommending?
Oh, I didn't send you the link. Sorry. It's called Visions. Sun Ra and Walt Dickerson. There you go.
So it's a Sun Ra album.
I guess it's under his hang, but you know, it's on Steeplechase, has Walt Dickerson, and that's sort of what I wanted to point people towards. I can't find the Steeplechase trio records that readily. You have to dig around for those. But Walt Dickerson on Steeplechase, there's some really special magic that happened with him in that time and that label. But this record is really cool, and I love Walt Dickerson's playing. It's really, really singular, and he's a underrated, under-celebrated vibraphonist. So I just wanted to put his name out there.
Yeah, that's a name that I've heard forever, but I haven't really checked him out, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to checking him out.
It's beautiful, man. I mean, I might dig around and see if I can find one of the trio records, but I mean, even this one's beautiful as well. You know, the compositions are by Dickerson, though the musicians share equal billing on the cover. The recording location was not listed on the album. Some sources indicate that the album was recorded in Denmark, but Raw discographers Robert L. Campbell and Christopher Trent are confident that it was in New York, which kind of tracks for me. I don't think that Dickerson was into gigging that much at all, so I don't know how much he toured. He sort of issued a statement like after he stopped gigging, saying that he was fed up with the BS of the industry, and he's like, if you want to come and listen to me actually make music, that's one thing, but if you're going to, you know, I think he was feeling exploited, and that everything about what was going on in the industry with jazz and improvisation at the time just wasn't worth his time. So I think he just stopped playing, which is crazy. Like, he's such a brilliant improviser and
that
composer.
Is crazy. You
know, and he just like stopped. It's sad, man. But anyway, Walt Dickerson, incredible. And sorry, but if you listen to his early recordings, he's like just a really great straight ahead player, you know, on the vibraphone. If you listen to stuff from the 50s, late 50s and 60s, I think he's just doing it, you know, sounded good. But I really love where he went, and his trio recordings on Steeplechase are special records.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of his other records now, just kind of scrolling through the Walt Dickerson discography here, and
yeah,
not a ton of albums, but definitely over a long span of time. You know, starting back in 61,
Okay. So it wasn't the 50s. It was early 60s when he was starting.
Yeah, this would have been towards the end of his recording period. But looking forward to checking that out. And I think you might have mentioned this in a previous episode, but there's a really nice Sun Ra Bandcamp page just for Sun Ra's own records. That it's well curated. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, definitely. I think we talked about that a couple.
Yeah, Sun Ra has come up a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good because he's important.
Yeah.
Truth.
This is interesting. Like one of Walt Dickerson's records from '76 is it's just called Walt Dickerson 1976, and it has him playing vibes, but then two different bass players on different tracks, Jamaaladeen Tacuma and Wilbur Ware. So that's an interesting contrast there.
Wow, Wilbur Ware.
Yeah.
That is.
And actually he has a trio record with Wilbur Ware and Andrew Cyril, which sounds ridiculous. I'm going to seek that one out.
I mean, all the stuff where he's playing with Andrew is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenal. We should have Carl on about that sometime. I've talked to him a little bit about this stuff, and this is his wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he knows more about Walt than I do.
Carl Evangelista?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But anywho, yeah, I'm glad that ended up coming up. So thank you, Rob, for inspiring me to talk about the instrument that I spend most of my time on.
Yes. My pleasure.
Good.
Can I do another one?
Yeah, please.
You can cut us off whenever you want to.
Should we let's do one more round and then
we'll
call it.
I'm gonna do another drummer record. Another friend, another kind of extended family type person here. This is Chris Acasiano, drummer, Seattle area drummer, and his record called Provinces.
Oh,
yeah.
God, where did I listen? I listened to this once.
He was on one of those festivals recently too, right? Like a few.
Yes,
and he
played this music on that. Now that you mention it, I had forgotten that, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That is where I heard this. I was like, right on.
I forgot about that, and that might have been. I mean, this came out February 2020, so that performance might have been shortly after that, if I recall correctly. It was a little while back, but yeah. I mean, so he's playing drum set, and then it's kind of with layers of synth and that kind of vibe. But it's pretty. His approach to. I've heard him for a number of years in different situations, but he has this great duo that you guys might know of, Bad Luck. You guys know that group?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I saw them at the Nightlight. Were you there for that? Probably.
I've seen it. Basically, like it's him and Neil Welch, the sax player, and whenever they come through town, I try to check them out. But this record is just Chris's record, and it's his approach to drumming, which I find really interesting, is that it's a lot of repetition, kind of minimal approach. Like the opening track, I think for several minutes, he's just kind of alternating singles between the snare and the hi-hat,
mm-hmm.
and then over this kind of, this textural wash of synthy sounds, but just really committing to that gesture. And just, there's tons of little subtle variations that happen when you just alternate singles between the snare and hi-hat, but it's just very repetitive, but it's just like sticking to that.
Yeah.
And several of the pieces are like that, where it's just like a repeating drum gesture, but there's these subtle variations that creep in because it's a human playing, but then there's also these kinds of layers that are moving through on the synth side of things and processing and stuff. And then there also are moments where it's more kind of, sort of post Elvin Jones drum soloing kind of stuff. But just in contrast to that, like really minimalist approach to the drum set it's very compelling. So yeah, very cool record.
He's such a dynamic and fascinating and fun player to watch live too. You know, extremely musical human, and then also just like all the people that I've met who are out of that particular scene in Seattle are just like really nice and gracious too. You know, it's cool.
Cool.
I have one of the tote bags from the Bad Luck when they came out. I remember buying it, and the sax player was just like, "I told you, man, the tote bags." Like, all right, duly noted. Noted. It's fine merch. It's good merch.
Good and fine merch.
Yes.
Okay.
Check out my website, Good and Find Merch. All right. Go ahead, Bobby.
Okay, so I want to recommend this. I was going to do another one, but I think I want to do this one.
Okay.
Just so you know that I've been debating about which. So this is Hidden Voices by ARUAN ORTIZ. The ARUAN ORTIZ trio with Eric, Revis, and Gerald Cleaver. And so I had never heard of ARUAN ORTIZ, and this CD, I got a package in the mail with no return address, and this CD was inside it with no note. And I didn't know who sent it to me.
Okay. Gerald Cleaver and Eric Revis. Okay, yeah. These are some heavies, for sure.
So this ARUAN ORTIZ is Cuban. I guess that's why it was sent to me. Because I play a lot of Cuban music, but this is really.
Wait, you don't know who sent it to you?
I mean, I did find out eventually. It was my brother. But for months I did not know.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah, so this album is first of all, it kind of has it's jazz. It's like a jazz trio album, piano trio, and it's got a lot of different kinds of compositions on it. But I think what really gets me is ARUAN ORTIZ's like approach to improvisation is like so unique to me. It seems like, I mean, clearly he's a very studied musician. Like he knows all about, what you can know on the piano about harmony as a jazz piano player, perhaps. But it seems like perhaps when he's playing, it's like he's totally free from all of those things that he may know. Because they come out occasionally, and you'd be like, okay, like this guy does know all about harmony and everything, but like he seems in most cases like totally free, and his ideas are very fresh, they're very organic, they develop extremely well. The band supports him beautifully. It's and the compositions are they're like each song is very distinct. They all have their own little worlds, and it's technical at times. Like he's very like doing some very like complicated polyrhythms and stuff, and probably just a great record. And it's on Intact, which is a fantastic record label.
Yeah.
And this is recorded at tip-top quality. You can buy, this is one of those labels where you can buy the 24-bit 96 kilohertz version of it if you should choose, or the 16-bit, probably 44.1, I would assume. But
no tape release. It seems like there's no cassette release.
Yeah, I guess not. This should be on vinyl though, because it's so beautiful. Like, basically what I'm saying is it's produced well, as this record label is known for. So, And yeah, so like this particular collection of compositions I like very much, and so I think it's a great introduction to his repertoire, and I hope that everyone else gets it sent to them in the mail anonymously as I did.
You might be responsible for that.
Yeah, if anybody's listening and they want to send it to me anonymously, email me.
All right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Gerald Cleaver is now in the Bay Area. Great drummer.
Is that right?
Yes, he is the chair of the drum department over at the California Jazz Conservatory.
What?
And
when did that happen?
well, I mean, it's actually the second year, but this is the first semester that we're back in person. So he's here, and appearing from time to time. But yeah, he's at the school, and so it's great to have him in the area for sure. Amazing musician.
Didn't ARUAN ORTIZ play at the school at some point?
Yes, he did. He did have a concert there some years back.
Was it amazing?
Honestly, I missed that show. But yeah, he was there. He was there, and I think he's got some connection with John Santos as well, who I know you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I actually don't know John that well, but I do know him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I recently asked his son if he wants to join my band.
Okay.
Because he has some of my stuff memorized from back in the day. 2 years ago when I had the ensemble play an arrangement in one of my tunes. He still just plays through it, and I'm like, well, Steve left, so you already have the music memorized, Okay, well, let's see. How shall I round this out? What do I got? There's an interesting record that I've been checking out. I really like Mary Halvorson a whole lot. I think a lot of people do, and rightfully so. But yeah, I got the most recent Code Girl, Artlessly Falling, and it's cool. I like it. So yeah,
send that link to us.
Yes. Have either of you checked this one out yet? So this is, this does feature Michael Formanek on bass and Toma Fujiwara on drums, and apparently beer cans on track 2. It's my kind of track. And along with Amirtha Kadambi on voice, Miria Grand on tenor, Adam O'Farrell on trumpet, and the legendary, I love this man, Robert Wyatt for voice on tracks 1, 3, and 5, which is what really...
what kind of music is this?
Songwriting, but modern jazz. So longer modern jazz forms, but there are songs as well. And actually, yeah, it's stuff that I can relate to. There's masterful improvisations throughout, really beautiful arrangements, virtuosic playing from all the players, but she's also just writing.
Did these songs have lyrics by chance?
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
Okay. And lyrics are written by Mary Halvorson.
I believe so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this particular project of her, the Code Girl project, is the songwriting side of her output, if I recall correctly. So, and what she writes lyrics for.
Yeah, but it's still very much coming out of at least to my ears. It still sounds like it's related to some of the the Thumbscrew stuff and her other projects as well. But there's just there's voice, there's lyrics, there's that. So there's more of a narrative to it, but it's not like they're just straightforward songs. Mm-hmm. These are still really complex compositions, and she's such a unique guitarist. One thing that I thought was interesting on this record, let's see, this came out October 30th, 2020. So it's over a year old now, but I feel like her own playing on this is a little bit more restrained, you know? Like I know that she really has that sound where she's like learned how to use the dual pedal technique to get that kind of like weird dip in the tones that she's playing sometimes, but I didn't hear that as much right away, but it still sounded like her playing, you know, which I thought was interesting. It made me think about like the use of the fast motor in the vibraphone, you know, like, are you going to lean on that because it's like a tried and true interesting sound, or are you just going to work with the notes at hand and create phrases, you know? It's something that I think about a lot, and it's something that I've thought about specifically with Mary Halverson, because she found something where she was able to create like a really cool, like, whoa, how'd you do that? You know? But I feel like on this, it's more about like the compositions and all that, you know? It was just an observation. I am not at all like hating on anyone using any types of electronics or anything like that at all. You know what I mean? And I'm a longtime huge fan of Mary's. So, but I thought that was interesting. Just something that came up while listening to it. But yeah, I like this record a lot. You know, it's cool. Definitely.
Cool.
I heard her on a little earlier today. I heard her on another record, Tomika Reed's record. I won't make that. I won't try to sneak in another recommendation, but
sneak one in.
Please. You're the guest of honor, man. Let's close it out with a quick Tomika Reed recommendation. Okay. I love Tomika.
Yeah, I mean this record is certainly worth the album's called Old New, and it came out not too long ago, 2019. We were listening to it in the context of talking about people involved with the AACM. But so Tomika is the cellist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so Tomika and Mary are kind of like the front line in this band, cello and guitar, and then there's bass and drums. Really sweet record. So that's my bonus recommendation.
Jason Repke and Toma Fujiwara.
Yeah.
Incredible. And I believe this is the second record on this particular episode that was recorded by Elvind Ozvik.
Okay, yeah.
That's the second time I've read that engineer's name today.
Huh. Interesting.
So, yeah. Anywho. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, Tomika's fantastic. And I know she was supposed to be in residence at Mills. I don't know if she's out here or not.
Yeah, she is. I mean, I don't know what the situation is now, but it was...
Didn't Mills die?
I mean, I think it's in a liminal space of some sort. But it's but yeah, she's been kind of part-time out here teaching at Mills for a couple of years now, or 2 or 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah.
And thank you, Rob, very much for joining us. This was a very fun episode, but there's a lot of deep homework that we all have to go do.
Yes.
All of you who are listening need to go listen to every single one of these records right now at the same time.
Yeah. Heavy episode.
Yeah. Heavisode. All right, cool. Right on. Well, yeah, this has been another fantastic Tones for Human Bones recommendation episode. I'm pretty stoked. Let me find our little thingies here. Well, you can find us on Twitter at @_FT4HB. And
is it? Is there an underscore?
I believe so. Hang on though.
I don't think that's right.
All right, so on Instagram, we're FT4HB, Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. On Twittergrams,
Tones _4.
Oh, okay. I got it all mixed up. Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm the absolute worst. @Tones, that's spelled out TONES _4.
Yeah.
And and then if you go to patreon.com, you can find us there. Just search for Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. And if you feel like these episodes are worth $1 or $2, we would greatly appreciate any support. And as always, please subscribe and rate and tell people to check it out, because we're here, trying to get music heard by as many people as possible and get as much money as possible in support for the artists who are making the music. And on our more straight ahead traditional, our standard route, we're interviewing composers and musicians and really doing deep dives to try to help illuminate the creative process to all of our listeners as well. So it's work that we think is valuable and important, and we appreciate your support and your ears. So thank you so much for listening.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks guys. A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rob. Anywhere that people can check you out?
On Bandcamp. Check me out on Bandcamp. We've got a couple records up there, and you can also follow my Bandcamp fan page, and you can check out all the records that I have on there. Bandcamp.com/Robert Ewing.
Awesome. All right, cool. Right on, everyone.
Should
have
we?
A beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Continue.
I was just going to tell everyone to have a beautiful rest of their day or evening.
Yes.
That's all.
Have a beautiful day.